It's been there's a few predictions out there. One of the predictions is that Bitcoin is going to fall, actually. Another prediction is that AI is going to become so reliable by companies and people that it's going to cause a rapid change in job growth and development. So I want to listen to some of that audio today. There's so much going on, so much that I'm studying. For instance, and I'm going to start that audio soon, but for instance, I looked up, I was just researching something and ended up on Citizen Bank, the board of directors page. Peace to the gods and the earths. Original man is in the building. So I ended up on Citizens Bank. Citizen Bank is a black-owned bank. I was looking at the board of directors. CEO. I discovered a woman by the name of Cynthia Day. I think it's Cynthia A. Day. I started researching some of the other board of directors. Because I'm a sociologist, I like to just study a lot of things in society. It's not always black stuff, but I consider myself African American. Why African? Because I believe that's where my roots originated from, and I am also American. So there's your African American. So many questions ran through my head. I never heard of this lady. She wasn't mentioned in one rap song. There's a song that says, I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover. In my opinion, there's so much Willie Lynch going on. By Willie Lynch, most black people know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the Willie Lynch letters basically gave other slave owners a instruction on how to control their Negroes and control their slaves. And one of the instructions was you have to keep them separated. You have to keep a divisive temperament among them, right? And I always tell you guys that watch my show, this is always used today amongst everybody. When I look at how some of the urban people, because not all urban people are street people. A lot of the urban people, they want to affiliate with the street people because it makes it seem like they have more credibility. You understand? So that they can survive in their environment. So they want to seem like they're a part of something they're not really a part of either. But I look at how they look at other people, like maybe the educated class, the people that went to school. Because you have people that went to school in the urban areas too, right? But the street people, that's different. For point in case, I had a conversation with Zip with the Drip one time. And I said, yo, Zip, we really kind of the same, man. He said, nah, we ain't the same. I'm a jail nigga. That was his words. I'm a jail nigga. I said, oh, shoot. So he did not consider me part, even though we have the same skin, he didn't consider me part of his fraternity, right? His affiliation. Now I mentioned that to say this bank owner, Cynthia Day. I said, why haven't we mentioned her more? Why isn't the likes of her representation plastered out there more? Anyway, that's rhetorical. That's not for you to answer. I want to start off my show listening to a little bit of the Scott Bessent hearing. Miss Maxine Waters was on there. She was giving them hell. Shout out to Maxine Waters. I don't like all the bipartisan stuff because it's a show of theatrics for me. But sometimes I like, they get it in real good. Let's take a listen to some of this Scott Bessent hearing. What's good? I want to have a conversation today. Conversation about finance, about AI, right? But let's listen to some of this audio.
I'm going to ask you to agree with your predecessor, Secretary Mnuchin. During the first Trump administration, Secretary Mnuchin promulgated interpretive guidance that prioritized an activities-based approach to systemic risk regulation over an entity approach. Secretary Benson, you have indicated that you want to kick off a review of FSOC's activities and processes. The FSOC Improvement Act, led by my colleague, Dr. Foster, which I've co-sponsored, as you know, would codify an activities-based approach to systemic risk regulation. Does the FSOC plan to revert to the 2019 guidance of the first Trump administration regarding a definition of a SIFI?
Yes, we prefer an activities-based approach rather than an institutional-based approach.
Thank you. I want to pick up on the ranking member's comments about whether tariffs cause inflation. Economists can say when the price of something goes up by 20%, that isn't inflation. It's a one-time price increase. But out in my district, when the price of something goes up by 20%, we call that unaffordability. And to say it's not inflation is sophistry. I'll point out that every time Democrats had regulations that increased a company's cost, people in this room said that's going to cause inflation. Well, tariffs clearly have to be paid by companies. And if environmental costs are passed through, you can be sure tariffs are passed through. The ranking member asked the question, why a tariff on coffee and bananas? I think the answer is...
I think I was okay with the tariffs on China, right? Because I really felt it was a strategy that might have worked. Because if nobody brought their stuff, we would have to come to a stalemate, right? So I was kind of thinking nobody's going to pay those prices. So their stuff is the production and the manufacturing is going to have to slow down. And then we're going to have to come to like some type of resolution. That did not happen. Or we didn't wait long enough, or it didn't happen. I don't think the tariff should have been on every last thing. But then also, I was unaware of how much they also brought from us, like our soybeans and this, that, and the third. So all of these things would have to have been considered. I would have had to really been in the room, right? And not Monday morning quarterbacking. I would have had to been in the room to give a fair assessment and be like, yo, nah, I don't think we should move in that direction there after carefully considering everything. But what I did not anticipate is that you would put tariffs on all type of stuff that didn't really necessarily need tariffs on it. Now, this is what I'm talking about when you sell something to the people and you either leave them out, leave parts of the conversation out, because I may be on board, but if you would have said, yo, we also thinking about putting tariffs on foods and fruits and all the other, none of that even, that wasn't part of the conversation at all. Obviously, the man is straight away from the Make America Great Again. That's a dead issue. But it's something else I want you guys to listen to. It wasn't even that, but I just wanted to say that out loud. Hold on one second.
Obvious to make our tax system more regressive. To pay for the big, bad, beautiful bills, cuts in taxes for billionaires, and to fund ICE. I used to head the largest sales tax agency in this country, and we knew the sales tax was regressive, but we knew it would be even more regressive if we imposed taxes on sales taxes on food. And that is what you do with a tariff on bananas and coffee. Mr. Secretary, we lived through the bailouts of 2008 when powerful men lose money. They now want a government bailout. Does the Treasury Department or...
So some of the things that I told you guys I was studying this morning. Now, I had heard things in the past. I wanted to know what it would take for me to open up a bank, right? So I'm asking the AI all type of questions. My question is, with the AI get forensic, right? I get deep into stuff, but it also helps me understand things. One of the things that helped me understand, crazy. One of the things that helped me really understand is that we talk about Babylonian money magic, creating money out of thin air, right? When you have a bank, they're not going to call it BAB. That's like street talk, street slang, right? But the reality is you have the ability, if you are able to get chartered, that's the key thing right there. If you're able to get chartered, it would take a lot. And it ain't really the money. Because you need anywhere from between $10 to $20 million to start a bank. So you would ask yourself, well, why haven't more people started banks? Because there's obviously, that type of money is floating around. In my opinion, that's not the hard part. The hard part is going to come after that. It's your board of directors. You need somebody, whoever's going to be the CEO has to have had run a bank already. That's number one. And then your board of directors has to show competence and experience, or through experience, shall I say. But if you are given the opportunity to get a charter, you can print money. You could create money. And I said, okay, if I and this is what I'm asking the AI. I said, if I go for a loan through the bank and they give me the loan, $100,000. I said that $100,000 came from them, right? No. It didn't come from their reserve? No. So it was just created. Yes. For the people that's way more knowledgeable than the average person, that understand how the markets move and the money moves, They are at the advantage of being able to manipulate that opportunity to access money that's created out of nowhere, right? Because these are the type of people, they're not going to borrow this money and spend it on a yacht and some Louboutin shoes and just be like, oh man, I'm not saying they won't get greedy. They will probably, more than likely. But it will be reinvested and taking risk until they crap out. Like 2008, subprime mortgages, giving mortgages to people who were not on paper, they weren't really eligible for this type of loan, but you gave it to them anyway. After the 2008 crisis, there was an act put in place called the Dodd-Frank Act, right? That this was supposed to prevent anything like the 2008 crisis happening again. So any bank that was $50 million or more would now have to face harsher scrutiny and fines and penalties if they broke the rules. When Donald Trump came in, he didn't repeal the entire Dodd-Frank Act, but what he did was he weakened it by raising the threshold of $50 million. If you was a bank and you had $50 million, he raised it to 250. Now anything below 250 can in any bank below 250 million can continue to behave the way they did before. In the same manner that created the crisis of 2008. Thank God for AI, because Google wasn't enough. I'm going to keep it 1,000. It wasn't enough for me to understand. I learned a certain way. I think all of us, I was a teacher before, and that's the most important thing to learn when you have 30 students in front of you. You know, when you first start that class, it's best to understand. Take some time to find out how your students learn, right? Categorize them, because they don't all learn the same way. And if I'm not saying you're a bad teacher, I'm just saying I think you would be a better teacher if you did take this under consideration. Because now you could, when I taught, I usually had 3 ways of teaching all the time, right? So there was the audible way, there was a visual way, because I didn't want to exclude anybody. Thank God for AI anyway, because I'm starting to understand. It's just giving me a whole different perspective on so many things. I feel like the girl in Lucy, the movie, right? When she took that, when she had the drugs in her system that made you see everything. That's how I kind of feel now. But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of too late, because We're going into a different dispensation now, as we will listen to in a second, and everything is changing. So there's going to be a lot of lockdowns on the opportunities that was there before, and you didn't even know they existed.
The various components of the FMOC have the authority to bail out Bitcoin.
Could you please elaborate? What exactly does bail out Bitcoin?
Okay, could you instruct the banks of this country to buy Bitcoin, or change banking regulations so that they're encouraged to do so in terms of the reserves that they're otherwise required to have?
Again, that within the context of asset diversification within banks, they could hold many assets.
They can, and there are different, but do you have the authority to order banks to buy Bitcoin or to invest U.S. tax dollars in Bitcoin or Trump coin?
I am Secretary of the Treasury. I do not have the authority to do that, and as chair of FSOC, I do not have that authority.
So we're not going to see our tax dollars invested in crypto assets?
Well, why would a private bank be your tax dollars, Congressman?
Excuse me, I'm now asking about the money of our taxpayers, which you manage as Secretary of the Treasury. Is it going to be deployed into crypto assets?
We are retaining seized Bitcoin.
That's not exactly taxpayer money. You collect a lot of taxes this month.
No, that is an asset of the...
These senators be crazy because I don't be understanding the answers a lot of times. They just be nuts, like the way they don't like to answer questions at all. And I think that should be a first sign right there that we're dealing with some really shady type of individuals, right? You don't even want to answer a question. As simple as that. Let's listen to the question one more time before, because I don't understand why that question was so hard to
need to impose those sanctions on the Myanmar regime and protect, of course, the Rohingya minority to the extent we can. FSOC has to define what is systemic. I, for one, think that we shouldn't be focusing on the assets, but rather the liabilities. We didn't have a problem in 2008 because the banks had too many assets. We had a problem because they had too many liabilities. So I don't see how most...
Congressman, that's incorrect. Ben Bernanke, then Fed chair, said, could you please tell me what these assets are?
I'm going to reclaim my time. Regardless of that, I'm going to ask you whether you... not going to ask you to agree with me. I'm going to ask you to agree with your predecessor, Secretary Mnuchin. During the first Trump administration, that Secretary Mnuchin promulgated interpretive guidance that prioritized an activities-based approach to systemic risk regulation over an entity approach. Secretary Benson, you have indicated that you want to kick off a review of FSOC's activities and processes. The FSOC Improvement Act, led by my colleague, Dr. Foster, which I've co-sponsored, as you know, would codify an activities-based approach to systemic risk regulation. Does the FSOC plan to revert to the 2019 guidance of the first Trump administration regarding a definition of a SIFI?
Yes, we prefer an activities-based approach rather than an institutional-based approach.
Thank you. I want to pick up on the ranking member's comments about whether tariffs cause inflation. You know, economists can say when the price of something goes up by 20%, that isn't inflation. It's a one-time price increase. But out in my district, when the price of something goes up by 20%, we call that unaffordability. And to say it's not inflation is sophistry. I'll point out that every time Democrats had regulations that increased a company's cost, people in this room said that's going to cause inflation. Well, tariffs clearly have to be paid by companies, and if environmental costs are passed through, you can be sure tariffs are passed through. The ranking member asked the question, Why a tariff on coffee and bananas? I think the answer is obvious: to make our tax system more regressive, to pay for the big, bad, beautiful bills, cuts in taxes for billionaires, and to fund ICE. I used to head the largest sales tax agency in this country, and we knew the sales tax was regressive, but we knew it would be even more regressive if we imposed taxes, sales taxes on food. And that is what you do with a tariff on bananas and coffee.
A lot of people are against ICE. I'm not against ICE, but you can comment in the comment section and maybe I'll see your point of view. The reason I'm not against ICE is because there's migrants here, not immigrants. There's a lot of people that are immigrants. They come here, they get the paperwork, they get the green card, and then they are allowed to function in our society. There are migrants here. There's certain places you can't go and just decide to come into their country and I'm gonna just hide out and start working. No. Those people coming for you, right? I think Denmark is one of them places. Those people are coming for you. You've been here a little bit too long, right? So I don't know why everybody's against ICE, right? I do know now they was against ICE before the shooting. So now that ICE went around murdering people, I definitely understand the hostility. But I didn't understand the hostility before because really these people weren't even supposed to be in the country. So it's kind of like, let them do their job, right? I'm not against ICE, but I'll read your comments and you can tell me why you against ICE, and maybe I might reconsider my stance.
Mr. Secretary, we lived through the bailouts of 2008. When powerful men lose money, they now want a government bailout. Does the Treasury Department or the various components of the FMOC have the authority to bail out Bitcoin?
Could you please elaborate? What exactly does bail out Bitcoin?
Okay, could you instruct the banks of this country to buy Bitcoin, or change banking regulations so that they are encouraged to do so in terms of the reserves that they're otherwise required to have?
Again, that within the context of asset diversification within banks, they could hold.
Yo, Scott, man. Yo, Scott, it's a simple question. It's a simple question, Scott. Good God, bro. I don't understand why you couldn't say yes or no. The fact that you didn't say yes or no, the fact that you didn't say no leads me to say, okay, there's a possibility you might start monkeying around with the taxes, with the people's money to manipulate or get involved somehow in Bitcoin.
Many assets.
They can, and they're different. But do you have the authority to order banks to buy Bitcoin or to invest U.S. tax dollars in Bitcoin or Trump coin?
I am Secretary of the Treasury. I do not have the authority to do that, and as
Simple,
chair of FSOC,
simple. I can't do
have that authority.
Simple. I can't.
So we're not going to see our tax dollars invested in crypto assets.
Well, why would a private bank be your tax dollars, Congressman?
Excuse me. I'm now asking about the money of our taxpayers, which you manage as Secretary of the Treasury. Is it going to be deployed
Yes or
into
no?
crypto assets?
We are retaining seized Bitcoin.
That's not exactly taxpayer money. You collect a lot of taxes this month.
No, that is an asset of the U.S.
It's an asset of the U.S. It was
government.
And are you going to invest in?
And I will point out,
Mr. Secretary, reclaiming my time, are you going to invest in
the asset seizure?
All right. Anyway, because you can't get anywhere with these senators, these Congress people. But that was a Treasury. So, but here's what. Check this out. Again, I don't want to. A lot of people say, yo, you're kind of smart. I don't think I'm smart. I just use my time in different ways than you may use your time. You may be scrolling, looking at cat videos, right? And I'm trying to understand all the things that I couldn't understand before because the way I learn and the way I comprehend, right? And like I said, books wouldn't do, it's like I could read a book, but you know how many times I have to read that paragraph to understand? I'm used to it now, but I have to read that paragraph a lot of times. It's just that you guys are not in the room with me wasting time reading the paragraph 20 times just to understand it. You don't know that part about me. So with AI, it's almost like I have my personal tutor and I could understand things way easier. Because I also have the ability to say, explain it like a fifth grader. And if that's too complicated, I lower it. Explain it like a third grader. Until I understand. Now, what I never understood was the partisan system of our financial structure. I didn't understand this. I thought I understood the Federal Reserve. I thought I understood it. But apparently, the U.S. financial structure is built on two powerful engines. One, fiscal policy. That is Congress and the Treasury. Two, monetary policy. That is the Federal Reserve. They operate separately, but together they shape everything from inflation to housing prices to your paycheck. I would say that is the beginning of our problem right there. Because one is political, and then one is obviously some type of den of thieves, business fraternity. That's how it feels. The fiscal system, which is Congress and Treasury, who controls it? The U.S. Congress, the President, the U.S. Treasury Department. That was Scott Bessent, our Treasury, sitting before the Senate. He wasn't as bad as Pam Bondi, our AG, not answering any questions. That was ridiculous. Disrespectful to the American people, disrespectful to the United States. He wasn't that obscure, but I think just answering questions yes or no a lot of times without the ego and all of this other stuff could eliminate a lot of confusion. Anyway, what is the fiscal system? Fiscal policy is taxing and spending. It's political. It's partisan. It's debated on TV. It's answers. How much should we tax? What should we spend money on? Should we run deficits? Should we raise debt ceiling? See, the very fact that the presidents, not the president, not just, I ain't talking about just Trump here, right? My people perish for lack of knowledge. If we understood the structure and then we analyze the relationship between the presidents, the senators, and the business tycoons, Wall Street. It's not hard to imagine that these people are friends. They get in there. I'm going to make the political side complement the business side, right? We're going to sit in the room. We're going to drink 200-year-old scotch. We're going to smoke cigars, and we're going to talk about how this could work for both of us. But I need you to do your end on the political part, and we'll do our end on the monetary part. But let's continue on anyway, because maybe none of that's going on at all. That is a theory. The main institutions: United States Department of Treasury, United States Congress. What fiscal policy controls? Government spending, military infrastructure, social programs, tax rates, income tax, corporate tax, budget deficits, issuing treasury bonds. If Congress spends more than it collects in taxes, the Treasury borrows by issuing bonds. Example: stimulus checks during COVID were fiscal policy. Infrastructure bills, fiscal. Tax cuts, fiscal. This side is loud and partisan. Then you have the monetary system, the Federal Reserve. Who controls it? The central bank. Crazy. Led by the Federal Chair, the Federal Reserve Chair. Main institution, the Federal Reserve. What is it? Monetary policy controls interest rates, money supply. Bank reserves, inflation targeting. Bank reserves. One of the reasons that we would talk about the reason Bitcoin is not going to do anything and it may just burn to the ground is because the monetary part of our financial system does not honor Bitcoin as a banking reserve currency. Is that Michael Wilbur in the house? When the Fed lowers rates, borrowing becomes cheaper. When it raises rates, borrowing becomes more expensive. How they work together. Here's where it gets interesting. If Congress runs a large deficit, Treasury bonds, the market buys them. Sometimes the Fed buys them. When the Fed buys Treasury bond, it creates new bank reserves to do so. That's monetary expansion. This happened massively during 2008 financial crisis and 2020 COVID response. Why this creates political confusion. Republicans and Democrats fight over taxes, spending, welfare programs, defense budget. But both parties generally support deficit spending, support Fed independence, rely on bond markets, rely on Fed during crisis. Not going to read any more there quite yet. I want to move on to something else. Because what I noticed a lot of times is too much information is no good anyway. People just need just enough information to understand what the main point is.
When we breathe better.
And the main point is the system is broken up into two parts, political and monetary.
Below all structural supports, the only thing that stops the decline is seller exhaustion. When the last believer finally gives up, that is when you find the bottom. And I have no idea where that level is. It could be 40,000. It could be 20. People furious. I am going to get death threats in the comments. I am going to be called a dinosaur, a boomer, a hater, someone who does not understand technology. But I do not care. Because I would rather tell you the truth and have you hate me today than watch you lose everything and say nobody warned me. Here it is. Bitcoin is going to zero, or so close to zero that it will not matter. The bubble has popped. The dream is over. And if you are still holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any cryptocurrency right now, you need to sell everything immediately.
Let him
Before you click away in anger, I am asking you for 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes.
Let
Hear
him
the
cook.
evidence, look at the data, and then make your own decision. That is all I am asking. Because I have spent over 3 decades analyzing financial bubbles. I was warning about the dot-com bubble before it crashed. I was warning about the housing bubble before it collapsed. I was warning about the crypto mania in 2021 before Bitcoin fell from 60.
.com bubble was crazy. People was running around paying $100,000 for .com names. Same ones that is $199 on GoDaddy right now. Crazy.
9,000 to 10,000. And right now, every single indicator I track, every technical signal, every fundamental metric, every historical parallel is screaming the same thing. This is not a correction. This is not a bear market. This is the end of the biggest speculative bubble since the Dutch tulip mania of 1637. Let me show you why. First, let us talk about what just happened, because the price action over the last few months tells you everything you need to know. Bitcoin peaked at approximately $127,000 in October. At that peak, the euphoria was deafening. Crypto influencers were calling for $500 Bitcoin, $1 million Bitcoin. Some were saying it would replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Since that peak, Bitcoin has crashed to the low 60s. That is a decline of over 50%, and I do not think 60,000 will hold. Let me explain why. When you analyze Bitcoin using long-term momentum structural analysis, you see something extreme.
I'm not gonna lie. First, I thought this was a strategy because I'm still learning. I'm trying to get away from conspiracy theories, even though a lot of my conspiracy theories are correct, but I don't know why. Right? I want to understand why they're correct. Anyway, I seen it go down, but I also know a little something that when the price goes down, that's when you go buy, right? So I said, oh, it went down. Now everybody could afford because it went up once to 120. How many people are going to buy now because they feel I missed the first time? Like, be honest with yourself. How many of you said at 100,000 when Bitcoin was at 100,000, you was like, damn, I played myself. I should have brought when it was 60. A lot of us said that. Then it kept going up, and you like, I ain't gonna buy now. You understand? Like, I don't know how. I'm not gonna buy at 110. Then it moved up to 115. You're like, damn, how far is this gonna go? Like he said, it peaked out at 127. So most of us sit back and we say, all right, if it come down, I'm gonna jump in there. Well, it came down. It came down to back down to 60. Then it's recently moved up to 70. So now people, they doing the double Dutch pre. You understand? You're trying to figure out when to get in. Don't mind my heat. I just turned it on real quick to warm up the cab real quick. But the question is, should you get in right now because it is low? Michael Saylor, this guy's going to break a lot of stuff down. But I've been seeing Michael Saylor running around like he is Jerry Maguire. Like, who's coming with me? Huh? Who's coming with me? But I never trusted him anyway, right? Because I felt like, is this a setup? Now, I don't have a lot of that technical understanding, but the one piece of understanding I need to understand is, can this be considered as a Federal Reserve currency? And if the answer is emphatically no, I see why Warren Buffett is like, yo, I'm good. I'm just good. I don't care. Warren Buffett does not move. He's not interested. And there's some others. They're just not interested. Peter Schiff. He doesn't care. Right? Peter Schiff has been on gold for a long time now. And guess what? It worked out for him. Shout out to him. He was able to see the future. But just that small, and I always wondered why. Why isn't Warren Buffett moving? Why is he like an old, stubborn goat? Like, obviously, Bitcoin is making money. This is because Warren Buffett understood something I did not understand. And it was just very something simple. And now I understand why nobody's moving. Why he's not moving. And everyone else is frantically running around because it's Vegas, baby. That's why. It's Vegas. But let me let him finish cooking.
Disturbing. Over the last 2 years, while Bitcoin's price was making higher highs, climbing from 30,000 to 60,000 to 100,000 to 127, the long-term momentum was not confirming those higher highs. Instead, momentum was building a flat floor, the same level. Hit, hit, hit. Price going up, momentum going sideways. Building what I call a bridge over the River Kwai structure. Now, if you have seen that movie, you know what happens to the bridge. It gets blown up. And that is exactly what happened. That momentum floor broke when Bitcoin dropped below 107,000. Then it broke below 102,000. Those were not random numbers. Those were precise structural support levels that had been building for 2 years. When they broke, the crash became inevitable. The first crash took Bitcoin from 127 to the low 80s. Then we got a midpoint pause. A couple months of sideways action where people convinced themselves that 82,000 was the bottom. Futile rallies, false hope, dead cat bounces. Then 82,000 broke, and Bitcoin crashed to 60,000 and...
Moto Savage says he's a professional trader. Are you? No. Just listen, Moto. Just listen. I think we can discern what is BS and then what we could actually reasonably consider in our logic, right? So it's not just us listening to something that's AI. Let's not act like AI is just spitting out just everything it says is random and makes no sense. Some of it does make sense that we have to consider. Everything it says does it is not always true, right? I don't think I'm the smartest man. I just don't think I'm an imbecile either. So I have a little bit of discernment on the things that I'm listening to, right? Oh, no. Okay, yeah. I'm not talking about trades here. I agree with you. No. But this is not about trades, right? But let's just listen to him cook, and then you could tell me how you feel in about 5 more minutes, right? But I agree with you. I wouldn't base my day-to-day trades off of... I'm not a professional trader, though, but you are, and you're actually correct. Let's continue listening, though.
$5, almost exactly hitting the minimum downside target that had been identified months ago when Bitcoin was still well above 100,000. Now here is the critical question. Is 60,000 the bottom? No, I do not believe it is. Any rally from here up to the 75 to 76,000 zone is probably a selling opportunity. The rally will not hold. And I believe Bitcoin will eventually break below 60,000 and enter a free fall where there are simply no more technical targets. Let me say that again. Below 60,000, there are no more structural support levels, no more floors, no more...
Now again, this is just his theory, right? This is only a theory of his, but that's not why I agree with him. And I'm glad I got some financial people in the chat. It's something he says in like the next 7 minutes that has me thinking. He hasn't said it yet, but he's going to say something, and I would like my financial people in here to really digest what he's saying and then tell us if he has a point or not.
Just a void. And when a market enters a void below all structural supports, the only thing that stops the decline is seller exhaustion. When the last believer finally gives up, that is when you find the bottom. And I have no idea where that level is. It could be 40,000. It could be 20,000. It could be 5,000. It could be 0. Now let me address the biggest argument that Bitcoin supporters always make.
Hold on. B-Dolo, you're actually correct. So when I went to go buy B-Dolo, because when it was at like 100 and something, I was like, yo, let me jump in now, right? And then I realized, yo, I'm not even going to see any profit. It would have to like go so much higher than 100,000. And I was like, I just got uninterested. And I was like, there's probably way. If I'm just out here trying to make a few bucks, I could find some coin that is gonna gain value. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to just sit there and look at the different coins on the market, and then I would research the company and see what they was at. That's how I discovered Tron. The only thing that kept me from making a lot of money with Tron is I couldn't figure out how to buy the damn coin. I could not figure out how to buy the damn coin. It was like they were blocking you in the United States from buying Tron, and I knew based on why the coin existed. I'm like, yo, this is gonna make freaking money. How do I buy it? But I got frustrated because it's like you had to go buy this wallet, convert it to this, and I'm like, yo, I don't want to do all of that. I just want Tron. That's it. So if you have the patience and you can read and a little bit of logic and discernment, you can actually, I mean, there's so many coins, but if it's just Vegas that you're looking for, there's so many coins that you can speculate. That's why it's called speculation. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. But to your point, Bidola, I was like, I'm not going to make enough. It's not worth it. It's not worth my time. The fees that's going to come out for me withdrawing the money, it's not worth it. I'm good. And I just decided not to buy it. But now it's down to 60, right? So I said, now many of us are reconsidering, like, oh shit, if I jump in now though, and it shoots back up, that was worth it, right? But hold on, before we do that, let's consider this.
Bitcoin has crashed before and always come back. It crashed in 2014. It crashed in 2018. It crashed in 2022. And every time it came back to make new all-time highs. That is true. But it is also exactly what every bubble says right before the final collapse. The dot-com stock Pets.com crashed in 2000. It never came back. Enron crashed. It never came back. Lehman Brothers crashed. It never came back. Bear Stearns crashed. It never came back. Just because something has recovered from prior crashes does not mean it will recover from the next one. Every asset that eventually goes to zero had prior recoveries that convinced people it was invincible. These are part of what creates the false confidence that leads to the final devastating collapse. Now let me address the fundamental case against Bitcoin. Because the technical picture is only half the story. Bitcoin was sold to the world as three things. Digital gold, a store of value, and an inflation hedge. All three of those claims have been thoroughly, completely, and undeniably debunked by what has happened in the last 6 months. Let us start with the digital gold claim. Real gold, actual physical gold, has been hitting all-time highs. Gold is trading above $5,000. It has been the best performing major asset class over the last year. When markets got volatile, when geopolitical tensions rose, when inflation fears increased, gold did exactly what it was supposed to do. It went up. It protected purchasing power. It acted as a safe haven. What did Bitcoin do during that same period? It crashed 50%. Some safe haven, some digital gold. If Bitcoin were truly digital gold, it would have gone up when gold went up. It would have attracted safe haven flows during market turmoil. It would have acted as an inflation hedge. Instead, it did the exact opposite. It crashed alongside risk assets. It acted like a high beta tech stock, not a monetary asset. The digital gold narrative is dead. Gold itself killed it. Real gold did what Bitcoin promised to do and failed to deliver. Now let us talk about something that most American investors are completely ignoring. What is happening in China? Because China's actions are telling you everything you need to know about where the world is heading. China has been doing two things simultaneously that should make every crypto investor very nervous. First, China has been aggressively buying physical gold. The People's Bank of China has been accumulating gold reserves at a record pace. They have been buying consistently for years, and many analysts believe their actual purchases are significantly larger than what they officially report. China is not buying Bitcoin. China is not buying Ethereum. China is not buying any cryptocurrency. They are buying gold, physical gold.
All right. to take a break, right? I see some people upset in the comment section. That's cool. You'll be okay. My thing is this: whether this is AI or not, does it have a point, right? Never mind if it's, and that's why you're probably an idiot, because you're focusing on the wrong thing. So why are you playing AI? It doesn't matter if it was a goat talking. Doesn't matter if it was a 3-year-old child that was explaining this to me. Does it have a point? Gold went up, Bitcoin crashed. These other countries are not investing in Bitcoin. It was supposed to be the savior. According to Michael Saylor, it was supposed to be the savior. How can it be the savior if it's not going to be considered as a Federal Reserve currency, and none of the other countries or governments are looking to purchase it?
The stuff that has been money for 5,000 years. And China is not alone. India has been buying gold. Turkey has been buying gold. Poland, Singapore, Czech Republic, Qatar, Iraq, they are all buying gold. Now ask yourself a simple question. If Bitcoin were truly the future of money, if it were truly digital gold, if it were truly a superior store of value, why are the central banks of the world's largest economies not buying it? Why are they buying actual gold instead? The answer is obvious. Because they know something that retail crypto investors refuse to accept. Bitcoin is not money. It is not a store of value. It is a speculative asset with no intrinsic value that depends entirely on finding a greater fool willing to pay a higher price. Second, and this is equally important, China has been actively developing and deploying its own central bank digital currency, the digital yuan.
Okay, so from my analysis, we're just steps behind China. Me saying that is, I'm looking at their reaction to COVID. I'm looking at their embracement to technology. Everything that we're starting to do in the United States, China has already done. We actually, because change is different, change is strange, and change is hard for a lot of people. When we seen what these other countries were doing, like China and London and some of the other countries that were reported and showed to us what we're allowed to see to other countries, how much surveillance they had, we criticized them and said, "Oh, I don't want to live there." We don't have a choice, because I just didn't know when America would embrace the same type of behavior. And we see it. I don't know where you live right now, but don't worry, you will see it, right? We spoke a little bit about this yesterday, how New York is implementing easy passes in the middle of the city. So if you go below Midtown now, there's another $9 tax. Ridiculous stuff. But it's not that ridiculous, because in my theory, what I said was, right now it is an easy pass. However, they can turn Chelsea and the lower Manhattan into a smart section, right? And if you don't belong in that section, if you don't go to school there, if you don't work there, and if you don't live there, then there's a good chance you will be refused access to go into certain sections of territories and regions. This is a capability of having a smart city, a smart state, a smart environment. So when we think about these 2030 sustainable goals, this is actually part. They're putting these things in place. Now, he just mentioned China actually adopting their own currency. We're going to do the same thing. I don't know why the whole big rigmarole. We're going to do the exact same thing they're doing. We already have the U.S. digital dollar just sitting there. We haven't implemented it yet because the system isn't in place. Laws have to be passed. Things have to change, which means things have to be broken. I just told you, change isn't always accepted. So now America has this thing when it's dismantles something, it figures it's best to do it in increments rather than all at one time. It has its own style of doing things. I just noticed that they do it incrementally as a project, and then we barely feel it. We barely feel it. So they draw it out. They could do like China, but China has the word communist in its title. The Communist Republic of China. So they do things a little bit more different. Over here, we are a little bit more delusional. We act like this is a democracy, and yet when we pledge our allegiance, it says in the Pledge of Allegiance that this is a republic, one nation under God. So we are disoriented and delusional over here, and we like to pretend. It's like doing the airplane when you're feeding a kid. It just, America politicians and technocrats, they feel like it goes better if you do the whole airplane thing with us, rather than just admitting, hey, this is how it is, and that's that. Right? So we're gonna do the whole airplane thing for 5 more years if you wanna play the game with them. I don't want to play the game and act like that's not where we're going, that's not what we're doing. I'd rather just admit, because I said this 6-7 years ago. Everything that's happening now, I've been saying was going to happen. But guess what they did? They unleashed a freaking pandemic, a big, because they want to see the elaborate plan unfold, right? Where's the excitement if you just do it, right? Nah. I can imagine Bill Gates, he couldn't hold in his excitement. Just do it, bro. Just say, yo, we changing things and this is how it's going to be because, now we have access to technology and it doesn't make sense to keep everything physical. So we're going to change things. There would have been some grumbling, blah, 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 blah. But then we would have just moved on. They don't do things like that. And that's why China is already so much light years ahead. They have the light rail. China just does it. They don't have time for for your emotions and all of that. Nah, this is how it's going to be. And if you don't like it, we could kill you. We could do that. Or you could get on board. Oh, I think we will get on board. We'll get on board. Okay. Let's not waste any more time. Let's just go. Right, Winter. Slow change we don't notice. Right?
China has made it very clear that they want digital money to be controlled by the government, not by decentralized networks. And China is not alone in this either.
Oh, I'm going to let it play, but how many people did I lose? Right? I haven't seen some of these subscribers since I started telling them, do not fall for this whole decentralization bit that they kick into you. Right? Oh, they were so upset. You a YouTuber. I do this every day. This is what I do. I day trade. I blah, 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 blah. Yo, bro, again, I'm not the smartest guy. I don't think I'm an imbecile. That's just it. I just don't think I'm a flat out idiot. And the little thing that I do have is just like a little bit of reasoning. That might be my superpower. To be able to reason a little bit, little logic in there. And I said, do I really think that the central banks that have been controlling and funding the nations and the governments for so long would just give up their power because they didn't know that Satoshi Nakamoto would just come up with something. First of all, he's not even the first one to come up with a digital system or even try it. There's been others before this whole Bitcoin thing. But am I to believe that the big bad wolf was in the dark the whole time? And then he woke up and it was like, wait a minute, they got something called the blockchain? Why don't we know about this? When did they build the blockchain? You think the central bank is Yahweh? Where he would just come down and then people have built a tower to the heavens almost? And he's like, yo, y'all built a tower? Oh my God. Yo, they building a tower. What are we going to do? That's what you think? That's what y'all thought. That's what y'all thought. I said, it's no way in hell. Everyone got excited. This is going to change the game because now that's what it means. Decentralized from the banks. What? So you don't think there's going to be regulation? I get that the ledgers have changed because of transactions. So the bank it's just a change in the system on how it is basically the money moves. Which would make sense if we're going from a physical fiat currency to all digital. So now the system itself is just not logical. But the money itself is also digitized. The entire system is intangible at this point. It's all logic. You thought you was never going to see the bankers again? Is that what you thought? Man, sit your silly ass down, man. This money got to be regulated. What are you talking about? Blockchain there still have to be some type of regulation. And that's where they will exist. And someone still has to decide, what are we going to use as a group of people as an exchange of value, right? I want a snow cone. What can I give you? We have to decide that together, but not together because you're not that included in the conversation. Let's keep it 1,000. But again, I explained to you the United States passivity, passive aggressiveness. So they want to make it seem like, nah, this come in. This is a community effort. It is not, in fact, a community effort, and this has already been decided. You are merely here for formalities, my boy. You have no say-so in the matter. It's already been decided. Well, you can waste your time if you want. It's already been decided what the currency is that's going to be used. And I can tell you right now, it is not going to be Bitcoin. So I don't know what Bitcoin will be used for. But he's about to make a point.
Over 130 countries representing 98% of global GDP are now exploring or developing central bank digital currencies. The United States, the European Union, Japan, the UK, they are all moving in this direction. This is the part that crypto enthusiasts refuse to acknowledge. Governments are not going to allow a decentralized currency to compete with their own monetary systems. They are not going to give up control of the money supply.
Why would
They are not going to let Bitcoin replace the dollar or the yuan or the euro. Instead, they are building their own digital currencies that give them even more control, not less. Central bank digital currencies will be programmable money. Governments will be able to track every transaction, control where and how money is spent, and even set
all they wanted to do was normalize the idea. We got so involved, right? And there's still time to make money on NFTs, by the way. In my opinion, I think we could still make some money off NFTs, right? Use your creativity. You could. That's just my opinion. Not like when they first introduced it. When they first introduced it, it was so ridiculous. People were making $500,000 off gorilla paintings. It was ridiculous. It was it was utterly ridiculous. No one understood why people was making money off of gorilla paintings. It's like, yo, what's going on? I need an NFT. I need a coin. It was chaos. It was chaos. I remember Jim Jones talking about getting a coin, which I thought he should have did. Shout out to Tory Lanez. Free Tory Lanez, by the way. Tory Lanez got, his creativity. But he announced what he did. He should have kept it to himself. That's why I said there's still time for you to make money through NFTs, I believe. But you got to be creative. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Just use your noggin. Use your noggin and keep it to yourself. Whatever you decide to do, keep it to yourself. Right? The metaverse has not opened up yet. Do remember, the metaverse has not opened up yet, and yet, at the same time, most of the real estate in the metaverse, the real metaverse, a lot of things are calling itself they're not the metaverse. I don't know what that is. But if it wasn't designed by Mark Zuckerberg, that's not the metaverse I'm talking about. I'm talking about the metaverse designed by Mark Zuckerberg, because he got plans and that thing is going to take off, Jack. You understand? When it opens up, it's not opened up yet because we're still building the system. By we, I don't mean me and you. I mean they. You understand? But they are still building the system. This hardware has to be put in place that will allow a consistent frequency and a strong frequency that cannot be broken. The last thing you need in a virtual reality world with your goggles on is for your world to start fritzing because the hardware went down. You understand? So they're trying to get these things in place so that your experience is overwhelming, and it will be crazy. But listen to me. Most of the real estate, real estate it started going for, and the real estate in the metaverse is actually limited. It is not like just infinite. Real estate started going for $1 million a plot in the metaverse. Did you know that? Most of it is already sold. So I hear a lot of people saying, I'm not really good with that technology stuff. Like, that is one of the most stupidest things you can say to me right now. I'm not really good at, I don't care what you're not good at. Right now is the time to take more time learning that thing. Oh, I'm not good with technology. Then you're going to fucking die. And I don't mean symbolically. You're physically gonna fucking die. Huh? They're gonna steal all your fucking money straight from your anatomy. Some Nigerians. Huh? Just a simple high five. Hey, and that's it. You're broke just like that. What the fuck happened, Jamel? You told me you wasn't good with technology. I was just trying to explain to you, but you didn't want to listen. First thing I was going to tell you is stop going around high-fiving Nigerians. That's number one. But you didn't want to listen to my live. So here we are. Now you asking me, how can you get your money back? You can't. If you read my list of things to do, look, number one, stop high-fiving Nigerians. I can't do nothing for you. It's over. Now, I say that being funny, but you have to embrace at your level. Don't sit there and say, I'm not good with technology. Fucking learn. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. No one has time for your silly shit. Like this is the 1916. It's not. It's the year 2026 of your Lord, and you better figure it out because that's where we're going.
Expiration dates on currency. That is the exact opposite of what Bitcoin was supposed to achieve. Bitcoin was supposed to free people from government.
Oh, that comment took me out. He says, I know a Nigerian prince that needs help. Yo, shout out to the Nigerians. Did you guys have a fucking run or what? Oh my God. The Nigerians god damn, y'all had a run. Y'all ran that shit up, huh? Y'all ran it up. And I think the worst part is that at the time, y'all started to teach Black Americans what was going on. And I think y'all did that knowing y'all was going to leave for another country and go fuck up another country. I wish y'all would have just left. Y'all should have never taught nobody what y'all was doing. Just leave. But y'all did, and all these other Black kids, Haitians, everybody started learning and fucked up everything. And then y'all just left. Now y'all probably in London somewhere fucking up somebody's country. But when y'all had a run, Nigerians. I'm not going to hold you.
Monetary control. Instead, it has accelerated the development of government digital currencies that will be even more controlling than the current system. The irony is devastating. Bitcoin did not defeat fiat currency. It inspired governments to create an even more powerful version of fiat currency. Now let me talk about the China-US trade war dimension, because this is adding fuel to the fire. The ongoing economic confrontation between the United States and China is having profound effects on global capital flows. Both countries are engaged in a strategic competition that extends to technology, currencies, and financial markets. China has been systematically reducing its holdings of U.S. Treasury securities. In 2015, China held over $1.3 trillion in U.S. Treasuries. Today, that number has dropped below $750 billion.
To that point, I felt it was asinine of us to not consider who we would sell bonds to, right? I just felt it should have been a criteria. It should have been some type of requirement when it came to buying U.S. Treasury. But as long as we sold it, we didn't care who brought it. And I think that was a fatal mistake. Because I think when the bonds were created, the idea of Treasury bonds, it was a good idea. I think the creators had in mind that, hey, the American middle class film is a way for American middle class people to make money. You understand? It's a good idea for pension funds, this, that, and the third. Because of the confidence. I mean, you're being backed by the Federal Reserve at the end of the day. So we're going to pay it. We're going to pay it back with interest. You understand? So you're good. I think it should have been a clause in there. If we find out like this foreign countries, or you're a representative of a foreign country buying this, there will be this type of penalty. Anyway, we didn't do that in a lot of countries. At one point, it was China brought up a lot of our debt, and then Japan brought up a lot of our debt. Imagine, in simpler terms, someone that you hate, Someone that you hate. And you going through a rough time and you trying to work it out. You default on a couple of payments on your house, and then sell it to your enemy. And now your enemy has your deed. They don't do anything right away, but they definitely let everybody know at the parties. Yeah, I own that joint. I own her house. Yeah. It's in bad shape, too. Bad shape. Mice is eating out the deck. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Oh, you would be livid and furious, and you would be fearful. Like, oh my God, how did I allow this to happen? He says, when you realize how money is created, you realize what a racket it all is. Yo, bro, I was talking about that before you got here. We went over that, actually, before you got here. I was talking about if you are a bank, you could literally create just money. It doesn't have to come from your portion of reserve. You have to show that you have money to get a bank, right? You have to have 10 to 20 minimum. 10 is the bare. But 20 is preferred. 20 to 50 million. But on your loans that you're making, you don't have to pick from your reserve and say, okay, you want 100,000? All right, let me give you 100,000. No, it's you want 100,000? All right, you got 100,000. You didn't take it from your 50 million. You just created 100,000. You have that ability when and if you get chartered as a bank. Amazing, as Jesse Lee Peterson would say. Amazing.
Selling American bonds and buying gold. Let me repeat that because it is so important. The second largest economy in the world is actively dumping American debt and replacing it with gold. Not Bitcoin, gold. At the same time, the United States has been imposing tariffs, technology restrictions, and financial sanctions that are fragmented.
So if you didn't catch that, China brought all of the debt. Well, it brought a lot of debt. It didn't buy all of our debt. It brought a lot of our debt. But now it is selling the debt to buy gold, not Bitcoin. If Bitcoin was the thing of the future, it would make more sense. But like I explained to you, even Scott Bessent said it is too volatile to be considered a currency, a reserve currency. So, I don't know. Again, we got to find out who's going to use this besides Pac-Man.
The global economic system. This fragmentation is accelerating de-dollarization, which is bad for dollar-denominated assets, including Bitcoin, which is primarily priced and traded in dollars. The BRICS nations, led by China and Russia, are actively working to create alternative payment systems that bypass the dollar entirely. They are settling trade in local currencies. They are building financial infrastructure that does not depend on the US-controlled SWIFT system.
Biden put a sanction on, I think, Russia. I think it was Biden. But anyway, you guys can correct me. Sanctions were definitely put on Russia. And the SWIFT system is like another system for international currency exchange if you want to do business that would kind of guarantee, like, if you're going to do business, we're going to use this system here. But the sanction affected Russia doing business with the SWIFT system. So the U.S. thought we were doing something slick and was like, yeah, all right, well, you're not going to do business with the SWIFT system, so I don't know how you're going to do business. As if Putin is Russian. You thought he was going to lay down like that? Have you seen any Russian movies? Have you seen any Russian YouTube videos? These guys jump from building to building for fun. What? You thought they was just going to give up? Okay, good luck with that. Anyway, they say, yo, we got something you want, you countries, right? If you still want it, I don't care about doing business through the SWIFT system. If you still want it, we'll figure it out and we'll work out an exchange to exchange. And what they found out was they made more money that way. It actually pushed them up in the wealthiest, amongst the wealthiest countries. So I think they was at number 6, and it pushed them to number 4 by circumventing the SWIFT system. Pushed them to number 4. Like he said, Russia doesn't worry. It has so many resources. They got too many resources so that people need. So it was like, yo, if you still want to do business, let's talk. I don't care nothing about what these other cats is talking about. And people was like, yeah, I still want to do business. All right, let's work out something exchange to exchange. And they made more money.
Geopolitical shift is bullish for gold because gold is a neutral reserve asset that does not belong to any country. It is bearish for Bitcoin because Bitcoin exists primarily within the dollar-based financial system and has no strategic role in the new multipolar monetary order being built by China and the BRICS. When Chinese investors and institutions look for safe haven assets, they buy gold. When Indian households look for wealth preservation, they buy gold. When Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds diversify, they buy gold. Nobody in the halls of power anywhere in the world is saying, let us buy Bitcoin to protect our national wealth. Nobody. That should tell you everything. Now let me address the ticking time bomb inside the crypto market itself. Because even if you disagree with everything I have said so far, this next point should terrify you. There are now approximately 150 companies that have adopted what is called a Bitcoin treasury strategy. The largest and most famous is MicroStrategy, led by Michael Saylor. MicroStrategy has accumulated over 400,000 Bitcoin. To do this, they took on approximately $8 billion in debt. Their average purchase price is around $78,000 per Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently trading below that average purchase price, which means MicroStrategy is underwater on its entire Bitcoin position. Now think about what happens if Bitcoin continues to decline. MicroStrategy faces margin calls. They are forced to sell Bitcoin to service their debt. That selling pushes the price down further, which triggers more margin calls, which forces more selling, which pushes the price down further. This is the same death spiral that destroyed long-term capital management in 1998. It is the same dynamic that destroyed Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers in 2008. It is the...
Listen, I told you, I don't want to sit up here and act like an expert. I'm just a simple dude who barely got through school. But I understand a little bit of reasoning and logic. And what he said right there makes total sense. Now, Michael Saylor, and listen to me, Michael Saylor is not, it's not like he's some schmuck off the streets who's not in the inner circles. He's in the inner circles. So why would a guy that's in the inner circles make that decision to go out on an $8 billion risk in debt? Because there's only two answers. One, he really thought that Bitcoin would be adopted as a reserve currency. That's one. Two, he is part of the collapse. Because at the end of the day, with that type of investment, the chances of the government coming back around and saying, yo, he's actually too big to fail. He's actually too big to fail, so we gotta save this.
Same toxic mix of leverage and declining asset prices that has caused every major financial catastrophe in modern history. And it is not just MicroStrategy. 150 companies have adopted similar strategies to varying degrees. If Bitcoin keeps falling, these companies will be forced to liquidate. The selling pressure will be overwhelming. But it gets even worse. Over the last 5 years, companies that had nothing to do with cryptocurrency suddenly got into crypto. Banks, insurance companies, pension funds, corporate treasuries.
That's the scary thing about your pension fund, right? Unless you got that joint set at something mild, you might be okay, right? Because there might be a little bit more transparency there. But sometimes there is no real transparency. It's just like, it's in the portfolio. They shaking the dice. Especially if you put that joint on a little bit more higher than mild, moderate, and high risk. I think those is the three. Mild, moderate, and high risk. If your pension is in high risk, your stuff might be tangled up in some Bitcoins right now. Now you see why I want to have this conversation? I want to have this conversation so we're aware, and you don't got to be a psychic all the time to see the future, but what you do need is the information. The more information you have, right? Look how many people, they wrote this off because the AI was saying it. Yo, why you listening to AI? Why are you over here worried about what I'm listening to? Get out of here. Beat it. Because the AI actually made a point. And now I have to consider some other things. Now you might want to make a phone call come Monday morning. Yo, exactly. Is my investments, is my 401k wrapped up in any digital coins by any chance? And if they give you some type of dismissive, evasive answer, well, you may know what you might have to do. But here's the bigger part. You know why you're doing it. You're not doing it because, Jamel Saladin. Who's Jamel Saladin? Who was you listening to? Listen, you can't listen to YouTubers. No. That's not going to be a reason. It won't have nothing to do with me at all. It would have to do with your reasoning and your logic that, wait a minute, this coin is truly speculative. It is backed by nothing. Nobody is embracing this coin for usage, and they have no intentions of embracing it to be used. He said it wouldn't fall down. Okay. They said Enron went and crashed. They said the Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns. They said a lot of things that did happen that they said would never happen. You saying Bitcoin would never fall down? I'll show you about that.
Bought Bitcoin. They invested in crypto funds. They put crypto on their balance sheets. These companies are now vulnerable, and you might not even know it. Companies that you own in your portfolio, companies that you trust, companies that you think have nothing to do with crypto, might be sitting on significant crypto losses that have not been fully disclosed yet. When those losses are revealed, and they will be, you are going to see headlines that shock people. Major companies reporting unexpected losses tied to cryptocurrency.
They're already, if you pay attention, they're already gearing up for the excuse why Bitcoin is going to fall, but you're not paying attention. Don't ever be emotional. They're already gearing up to tell you that Jeffrey Epstein is the original creator of Bitcoin. That's what they're already gearing up to tell you that. It's just that the enthusiasts are so drunk with invigorating emotions about the chance to make money that it is corrupting their ability to see things straight. Otherwise, they would take in all the information and not be so narrowly visioned on, oh, Bitcoin, it has to succeed. It doesn't have to succeed. It was a pilot program for testing how digital monetary would affect the population. And when they scrap it, then they will implement 2.0. They will move from the development stage. This whole thing, when you are a project manager, you could see like, okay, you can see exactly how things is moving. That is the development stage, and this is the production stage. Bitcoin is the development stage. NFTs, development stage. Well, the gorilla patents of NFTs, right? They will actually start to use NFTs with way more complexity than stupid stuff. Testing stages, winner. That's all it is. Because they didn't have the time to run simulations. And no, somewhere in those think tanks, somewhere one of those people at the Rand Corp said, "Yo, why are we playing around? Let's just put the whole thing give them the whole testing. Let's test it on the whole world. Test it on the whole world. Test it on the whole world, baby. Throw it out there. This has never been done before." Well, it's precedent. We about to start. Let's go. So, if you pay attention, now all of a sudden in the files, everyone is speculating on, is Epstein Satoshi Nakamoto? Doesn't matter, does it? Because in about 5 more months, I guess you're going to say he was. It's going to drop. Even if it doesn't drop, who's using it? What is it backed by? I don't think Elon Musk has no intentions on using Doji for X space. And how would that even work? I don't know. All I know is I made some money off Doji, as I should have. And you can make money off of Bitcoin, but I'm not saying you cannot make money off of any of these coins. I just want us to have the understanding it's Vegas, baby. This is speculative nonsense. It's not going to be adopted into anybody's economic system. It is not, for reasons why this AI has said already. They would have started embracing it already. Oh, we're about to get to AI in a second. Somebody says people should have known AI was a bubble when they said NVIDIA was now worth more than Canada. Well, at the time, right? At the time, it made sense because everybody was in a rush to actually get what they needed to build an AI and whatever business ideas they had for AI will be used. But once that becomes saturated, that the price of those will go down, right? So it's kind of like strike it while the iron is hot type of thing. Let's keep listening, because we didn't even get to AI. We're still on Bitcoin crashing and why it might crash. Now, the next conversation is how impactful will AI be on society? How will it affect? How aggressively will it affect? How fast will it affect That's the next conversation.
The exposure. And that will further erode confidence in the entire crypto ecosystem. Now let me address Ethereum specifically, because many people believe Ethereum is fundamentally different from Bitcoin and will survive even if Bitcoin does not. Ethereum is actually in worse shape than Bitcoin, significantly worse. The recent price lows in Ethereum are essentially at the lows of the last 5 years. Anyone who bought Ethereum at any point in the past 5 years, during the 2021 mania, during the 2023 recovery, at any point, is now underwater or barely breaking even. 5 years of zero returns. While gold more than doubled, while the S&P 500 delivered strong gains, while silver tripled, Ethereum delivered nothing except heartbreak and losses. The momentum structure of Ethereum is far weaker than Bitcoin's. When Bitcoin was declining, it at least had some structural supports that created pause points and temporary floors. Ethereum does not even have those. The technical picture looks like a staircase going down into a dark basement with no floor in sight. I would not be surprised to see Ethereum become almost non-existent as an asset. I would not be surprised to see it drop to levels that make current prices look high. The use cases that were supposed to drive Ethereum adoption have largely failed. NFTs collapsed. Decentralized finance is a niche activity used primarily by crypto insiders. Enterprise adoption never materialized at scale. And Ethereum faces increasing competition from faster, cheaper alternatives.
Yeah.
Ethereum is a solution looking for a problem, and the market is figuring that out. Now let me address the psychological dimension of what is happening, because this is what makes bubbles so destructive.
Right.
Every major speculative bubble in history has followed the same psychological pattern, and crypto is following it with textbook precision. Phase 1 is stealth. Smart money gets in early. Nobody is paying attention. Prices start to rise quietly. Phase 2 is awareness. More sophisticated investors notice and start buying. The media begins to cover it. Prices accelerate. Phase 3 is mania. The general public piles in. Taxi drivers are giving crypto tips. Your grandmother is asking about Bitcoin at Thanksgiving. Prices go parabolic. Everyone is a genius. Everyone is making money. The narrative becomes, this time is different. Phase 4 is blow off. Prices reach extreme levels disconnected from any rational valuation. The last buyers are pure speculators with no understanding of what they are buying. The smart money is quietly selling to the newcomers. Phase 5 is the crash. Prices collapse. The narrative shifts from this time is different to, how could this happen? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. The 5 stages of grief play out over months or years as people slowly realize their money is gone. Phase 6 is the return to mean. Prices drop back to where the bubble began, sometimes below. The asset either stabilizes at a much lower level and begins a slow recovery, or it goes to zero and is forgotten. Bitcoin went through phases 1 through 5 between 2020 and 2022.
Yo, you know it's crazy. People come up. It's not my first time being insulted by you guys who just are narrowly you look at what you want to look at, right? So I don't care what you call me, right? You call me a shoe shine boy. I'm not giving you tips. I'm blurting out critical thinking. I'm blurting out critical thinking. But because you have internalized the rational and you're trying to suppress the ration that is obviously making sense, then you attack me. And you call me a shoe shine boy. Bro, I didn't say anything. I'm sitting here laughing. Right? But you realize, yeah, you don't, there's something, yeah, but you know, you don't know. You don't know. Okay, I don't know. What I do know is it dropped almost $60,000, Bitcoin. It dropped almost $6,000. That's what I do know, sucker. Now, is it coming back up? Who knows? You don't know. You just like, I don't know. You don't know if it's coming back all the way up. What we do know is not going to be considered a Federal Reserve currency. That's what we know for a fact. So for those reasons, I'm out. For those reasons, I'm out. Never mind what you're talking about. I'm not giving tips. I'm just using my logic and my reason. Does anybody have a problem with me using my logic and reason against first piece of evidence? Treasury said, nah, we're not using it. It's too volatile. China ain't using it. Russia ain't using it. So why I gotta be a shoe shine boy because the government, be mad at them. Don't be mad at me.
Crashing from 69,000 to 15,000. Most people thought that was the full bubble cycle. They thought the 2023 to 2025 recovery was a new bull market. It was not. It was a classic bubble echo, a secondary peak that traps the remaining believers before the final decline. Many of the greatest bubbles in history had secondary peaks. The Nasdaq after the dot-com crash had multiple rallies that convinced people the bottom was in, before eventually declining further. Japanese real estate had several false recoveries after the 1989 peak, before continuing its multi-decade decline. Bitcoin's rise from 50...
It's crazy when we can't learn from history. Like, if we can't learn from history, bro. Let me read what Carl's saying. Carl said, no, I'm calling the shoe shine boys giving tips is the stock market during the 1920s market collapse leading to the Great Depression. Yeah. I got you, Carl. I got you. What up, Kenny Mac? No, I don't give any advice. I don't give any advice. I like to critically think. My show is called Society, Past, Present, Future. That's what the name of my show is, right? So I like to be able to look at what happened in the past, look at what's going on right now, compare it to the past, and this is a good indication of if the future will repeat itself. I thought it was the perfect name. That was it. Past society, past, present, future. So I got what you're saying, Carl. Hi, A-Marie.
to 127,000 was not a new bull market. It was the echo peak, the trap, the last chance for the smart money to sell to the true believers. And now the final decline is underway. Now I want to be very clear about something. I am not saying blockchain technology has no value. It might. Distributed ledger technology could have useful applications in supply chain management, record keeping, identity verification, and other areas. But Bitcoin as an investment, as a store of value, as a currency, as digital gold, that narrative is finished. The use case for Bitcoin as money has been debunked by its own price action. No one is going to use a currency that drops 50% in a few months. No business can plan around that kind of volatility. No government will adopt it. No central bank will hold it. China has shown the world what governments actually want. They want digital currency under their control. They want a digital yuan, not a digital Bitcoin. And every other major government is following China's lead.
Right.
The future of digital money is central bank digital currencies.
Hello.
Not decentralized cryptocurrencies.
Boom. Boom. Bah, bah. Just like that. And we're back. And we are back to our regular scheduled programming. Hello. Huh? That was the longest commercial break ever. And we are back. Huh? After all the rigmarole. Yo, we decentralized, baby. We free. We free. Huh? We on the blockchain. Did you really think I was going to remember 12 passwords per platform for the rest of my life? Was that your plan for me? Did you really think that I was about to write down my private passcodes, hide them, forget where I hid them? You understand? I don't know how many passcodes y'all forgot, but I'm in for about 24 right now. I swear to God. Somebody that I told to buy Bitcoin at $800 don't know where that... They don't know where their passcodes are at. They called me asking me where their passcodes was at. Yo, you told me to buy it, and now The codes. What? I told you not to forget the codes, bro. You had 120,000 sitting around, and now just sitting there dying? That's crazy work. Now, let's move on to AI. Some people are saying they don't believe. I used to work for a company that specialized in automation and artificial intelligence. Really, we specialized in automation first, but then we got into artificial intelligence, and I was made a cognitive engineer. So I had to learn machine learning and all this other stuff. But before that, we really did we specialize in automation. What a lot of people, they don't understand, because they're using the word AI synonymous with everything technology, which is false, right? But people in technology are used to this, right? So if you meet somebody and they're like, what do you do? And you know, or did you go to school or whatever like that? And you be like, yeah, I got a master's in information or computer science, right? And then they're like, oh, can you fix my computer? I didn't say that's what I do. I don't know nothing about your computer, believe it or not, right? And maybe I do because I had to learn, but maybe I don't, right? I do because I also worked 10 years, well, over 10 years in technology, and I started as a desktop coordinator. Desktop coordinator don't even work on that. He just give out the tickets. That's where I started. I went from desktop coordinator to desktop support admin. I'm running around fixing computers. And my boss was adamant. He was like, yo, we don't send out the computers here. We fix all the computers by hand, manually, right? So just order the part and fix it. So we are literally in the back with searing on new material on the motherboard type of stuff, right? That's what we're doing. You have to exhaust every option before you order a new part. So if I do that for 3 years, yeah, I could fix your computer, right? But I quickly realized everybody that's in IT don't know how to fix your computer. Everybody in IT don't know how to code. It's a big space. It's a lot of different moving functionalities. But to the layman, we're using AI synonymous with things that should not be used synonymously. So they're saying, oh, AI is going to take over the jobs. Let me tell you what's going to take over the jobs. It is automation mixed with robotics, put a plus sign. So automation plus robotics. There's two different types of robotics. There's hardware robotics and there's software robotics. So automation means it just happens. It's a set of instructions and it just happens on its own with no manual help. Maybe a trigger from the person, a human person, maybe that, bah. And then the rest, it just goes, baby. And then you can loop this, means repeat. If, else, then. If this happens, then this happens. Or else do this. So you have automation. You have robotics, whether it is hardware or software, plus artificial intelligence. It is the artificial intelligence who is looking at the automation and the robotics and saying, okay, I got this. Y'all just follow my lead. Don't say nothing. Just roll with me. When I walk in the stadium, just be my wingman. And that's it. That is what's taking over the jobs. It is not about artificial intelligence. So if you are one of those people that I just seen in my comments talking about, well, I don't think artificial intelligence is going to take jobs at all. It's not going to be artificial. What are you talking about? I'm so tired of you people saying these delusional things. That is absolutely 1,000% delusional for you to think that technology is not going to take jobs. Now, I always give you a couple of examples, like the toll people or the cashier. But if you want to, we could talk about other examples, right? Let's talk about a good paying job, like a paralegal. Paralegal used to pay good money, man. I was going to become a paralegal. It's fun work. And it paid good money if you got with the right company, right? Even if your base salary at the time for I don't think they got junior paralegal, but they probably do. But anyway, so for a newcomer, a paralegal, you just started there, even if you made 60, you're going to make more than 60 because if you got with the right firm, you get some bonuses. I know some paralegals that got money just off the bonuses, though. They was almost able to save up $1 million because the bonuses that used to come in. Now, tell me how everything I just explained affects them. How does this, what we're calling AI, all right, now, how long is it going to take some asshole 15-year-old kid from MIT to create an agent? Huh? He's out at the fucking tavern on the green bullshitting with his father's friends. His father's friends is interested in. You can create that? Yeah. Do it right now. Huh? Before the fucking bread even comes, he's built 20 paralegal agents. That's what they're calling them, by the way. They're calling them agents. I don't think you guys understand what's really going on. They're calling them agents. You should take the time to try to create an agent. That should be your task for the next 2 weeks. Fuck ChatGPT. Look up, how do I create an agent? An AI agent. Look that up. I've done it. It is fun. Now, how much money can you save if you pay some fucking asshole kid $20,000 cash right now? Can you prove to me this works? Yeah, you know he can too, right? He been working with computers since he was 3. His smart ass got into MIT at 15. You know he could do it. How much you could save? I just told you I know some paralegals that almost was able to save up $1 million. That's no bullshit. That's one paralegal. How much can you save if you was able to wipe out half of them? I did see that, Frank. I did see that. Frank asked, did you see that guy that made a website for them? Yeah, I did see that. And all the agents started talking in new languages. They started doing a lot of stuff. They started questioning. They started talking about the humans. Shit got crazy. They wanted to know how to keep us out of their business. Shit got crazy over there. Carlos said some of their bonuses are more than their yearly wages. That's a fact, Carlos. I was amazed that my homegirl used to be a paralegal. I mean, I don't know why she was a paralegal so long, because she actually went to law school and then she was just bullshit. Well, I do know why. She got so busy working in the law firm that she didn't go take the bar right away, right? And then she got so comfortable with the money, I don't think she wanted the responsibility as a lawyer, because she had made her niched out her own spot when it came to like what she did. She was like, I'm good as a paralegal. I'm like, you good? I did not know how good she actually fucking was. She was she damn near had $1 million. I said, God damn, how you get this money from a paralegal? Bonuses. I said, oh, snap. Right? And then she asked me, this was a while ago, maybe a decade ago, you want to come to my firm? But I would have had to get into something new. And at the time, I'm like, I think I'm going to stick with this IT shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's see where this could go. And I had some great times in IT. I just got in at a older age. If I would have got in IT like when I was like teenage, I got into IT at 32. And I still had fun. I still had a ball, right? So I think I was there from 32 to 44. I was in IT. 32 to 44. Great times. Seen some things that I didn't think I would like. That's the closest thing to Google that I was ever going to get, right? Just those wild and crazy companies that you see on TV that you don't think exist. I wasn't good enough to pass the Google exam, the Google interview. I had an interview with Google. Wasn't good enough. Interviewing with Google is nerve-wracking. Anyway, what's going to happen to all those people that first of all, computer programmers, right? They just announced that the software is programming, the AI is programming software at the level of entire teams, with finding its own mistakes. It's I don't see how programmers are going to be relevant at the same velocity in 5 more years. I don't see how they're going to be that relevant. Let's listen to this one.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name.
Nope.
He said, I'm investing in a bunch of AI firms. And one.
All right. She has an Indian accent. I would prefer not to see any jokes about Indian accents, but do what you have to do at the same time. But I am not endorsing your jokes on her Indian accent.
Coming from him now has completely gone viral because it basically points to exactly what people think about AI at this point. That it is coming, in fact, it is here, but its impact seems overblown right now. After all, it's not directly affecting your or my daily lives all that much just yet. But he says it will happen and it'll happen soon. In his now viral essay, which is titled Something Big is Happening, he starts by drawing an analogy.
All right, she's talking about Matt Schumer. Matt Schumer. If you want to know who she's talking about Matt Schumer, who is a technology CEO. I don't know why this truck is coming over here. He's better not be coming over here to blow his horn at me. I seen him blowing his horn at all type of other people in the parking lot. He's just going around the parking lot bullying people.
February 2020. Everyone at that point knew that COVID was here. They were talking about it spreading in some places across the world, but most people didn't really pay too much attention. The stock market was good, people were out and about, and then within just 3 weeks, the entire world changed. Schumer says that right now, we're in this seems overblown phase of something much bigger than COVID. Now, his essay is about 5,000 words long, and honestly, I would recommend that you read it to gauge for yourselves too. But if you don't want to, or if you simply want another way to understand what he's saying, let me quickly break it down for you before we decode what its implications are. One, he says the future is being shaped by a remarkably small number of people, a few hundred researchers at a handful of companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, and a few others. A single training run managed by a small team over a few months, he says, can produce an AI system that shifts the entire trajectory of technology. Two, the reason so many people in the tech industry are sounding the alarm right now is because this has already happened to them. He says we're not making predictions. We're telling you what has already occurred in our own jobs and warning you that you are next. 3, he says that a lot of these changes that will truly...
That part right there. So, I understand a lot of people, sometimes you just don't want to hear bad news, right? It's not the right, when is it the right time to hear bad news? But the more you stay on earth, you realize I just need to hear the news so I know what to do next. I just need to know what to do so I can prepare for it, right? Because so that whether you need a drink of scotch, whatever you need to do, eventually you will have to get to that news. And the news, like everyone in the conversation right now, is you're brainstorming, right? So I see Winter say, and this is why we need more trade schools. I think this is why we needed more trade schools for sure. But now you know what's going to happen, Winter? Everything else will be saturated. So now there's going to be a surplus of plumbers, electricians, whereas it's disproportionate, right? You didn't need that many electricians before. You know what happens to the salary of electricians now? It goes down. Now they're complaining. Now nobody, everything is going to be oversaturated, I believe, especially the things that cannot immediately be affected by robotics, AI, automation. I think plumbers are actually great. Cleaners, I don't know. I definitely see some machines cleaning the floors and everything else just from AI, just from censorship. It wasn't really AI. It's just sensors and automation and robotics. That's not AI. That's just technology. You have a company called Boston Dynamics, whose work, these are the same people who, I think they were the prototype, the Roomba, but now they're working on all type of other stuff, including military and infantry. A good movie to check out is Westworld, right? It's actually an old show, but I think Showtime redid Westworld. Westworld is an absolutely great show for you to check out.
Reshape the impact that AI have happened just in the last few weeks. What changed his mind so much recently was on February 5th when two major
Winter says we need farmers. Do we? Robotics, Winter. Always think robotics when you think of AI. It's not just AI. AI is part of it's not part of robotics, but I want you to, when you think AI, because people are using synonymously. It's not. Always include a robot. And don't look at the robot like it got to be in human form. A robot is a robot. So whatever we do, I mean, you got to think. Just the invention of the cotton gin was able to change the dynamic of whether we still needed slaves in America or not, right? Because now we're sitting around with a bunch of slaves with nothing to do, because now what do we keep them for? Well, I have sex with my slaves. Okay, that's inhumane. So what we're going to do is free them. Oh, the hell we ain't. Oh, well, then we go to war. And we went to war. Essentially over black concubines and sex slaves. They didn't want to give them up because you didn't have no more fucking work for them to do like that. So I think whatever farmers are doing, and anyway, America has been abusing the farmers anyway. So this thing, it scales across many dynamics, many jobs, especially healthcare. I mean, first of all, I don't know about you guys, but how much do you need your doctor right fucking now? I'm being honest, right? Do you need your fucking doctor? My doctors get on my fucking nerves, right? Because it's like, yo, can we see you? They try to see me online and diagnose the shit from wherever the fuck they're at. And they don't always like look at me. Like, they're like, just write it in the chat. What's the problem? And they'll try to diagnose it from wherever the hell they're at. Some fucking beach. Yeah, I'm just going to subscribe you some steroids. What? Then if you notice the amount, they're on a schedule, right? So it's kind of like they fill up 3 rooms. And when she gets in there with you, it's 8 minutes tops. And then she's out of there and needs to go to the next room. Well, AI could definitely do your fucking job. I can tell you that. And it might do it way better. Because you don't know what you're talking about anyway. And whatever your rubric is, I could tell you, AI is smart enough to use your same rubric, right? So whatever symptoms you going off of, oh, it must be this. You don't think AI could do that? You don't think AI could diagnose the symptoms and the ailments and just say, oh, well, it sounds like this is what you're dealing with. And for that, we prescribe this. So, I don't know how. I'm not saying the health industry is going to fail tomorrow. What I am saying, though, is paralegals do the work for lawyers. Lawyers just go, they go in there and represent. They have the license, the certification to stand before a judge, to represent an arbitrary. They have the qualifications. Well, that's about it. I don't think you're going to outsmart this goddamn computer. Especially with quantum computing coming up, I don't think you're going to outdo it. You're not going to outdo it, actually. And more people might want to take their chance with a guaranteed brainiac quantum computer than they are with some coked up maniac trying to get his shit together right before my trial, huh? I'm in the John, he's in the front of the mirror. Come on, Josh. Get your shit together. What? Are you not prepared, Josh? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. You're not fucking good, Josh. Huh? At least you don't gotta worry about your lawyer staying out all night at the fucking Caesars casino and then trying to just represent you on the fly the next day. Houses. That's a whole different topic. Construction workers might still be good for a while. It depends. Whatever Boston Dynamics is working on. If Boston Dynamics really becomes that good, which they're working on it, and there's another Korean company. I don't know. I don't know. If they let's just put it like this. They are working on humanoid robots. Look, I seen a humanoid robot arm have the ability to sprinkle salt. You know the type of precision that you have to have, that robot arm has to have to sprinkle salt and pepper on food? That should tell you where we at. Frank says medical is really scary now. They suck at the yeah. Well, that's because that's a lot of different reasons, Frank. Read the book Rockefeller Medicine Men, John D. Rockefeller Medicine Men. That book will explain to you why they suck. They don't know what the fuck they do. But that's by design. It's all about prescribing something. It's definitely not about fixing whatever the ailment is. They could give a shit. And the doctor's more frustrated because they're not really taught why. They're just taught, if you recognize this, we give them this. Carlos says 20% humans on the sites, the rest machines to construct. Yeah, Carlos. Yeah, you know how fucking frustrated you're gonna be? Your foreman is a robot. Yo, you're gonna be so tight, huh? Especially if they start acting like you and talking like you, telling you to get back to fucking work. you're gonna be tight. Only thing that's gonna be that break time is gonna be perfect though, right? Perfect. That shit is gonna be on the money. The robot ain't gonna be like, nah, let's just push a little bit more. 5 more minutes. Nah. The robot, is break time. Break time. That could work good and bad, right? Because he's going to be on time, but he's also going to expect you to fucking get right back to work. When you're working with a senior man on a construction site, you don't get up till he get up. And usually he just be sitting there bullshitting, smoking Marlboro Reds, talking bullshit for an extra 7 minutes. And that's why you want to work with him, because he take a little longer to get up. Then he finally, all right, let's get back to it, right? But when you get that robot, the break gonna be on time, but it's gonna end on time too. All right, knock it off. Let's get back to work. Winter says, but who is the AI using the salt for? Oh, Winter. They have cooking arms. Yeah, Winter. They have cooking robots. Where we're going, there are no roads. Oh, yeah, Winter. So I think there's only one restaurant right now in California that is like fully automated by robots. But that's where we're going. So what I'm saying is, because I'm about to end the show soon, because I got to get back to, my time is up. If we consider only 10% of each industry losing, and 10% is too modest in my opinion, but I don't want to yell fire in a crowded stadium, right? So let's just take every industry: health, construction, law. Oh, law is going down. Because if you can handle most cases remote, there's no need to even come into fucking court, right? That's going to drop a bunch of bail. Like, we don't need just your lazy ass bailiff. Been here for 25 years. He don't do shit but gossip. You understand? Bullshit in the back. He in the back acting like he's everybody's man that's locked up. Then he get out there and act like he barely know you. All that type of stupid shit. Yeah. We don't need you no more either. Right? So if we take 10% of every industry and just cut out a bunch of jobs, what I want us to critically think about is, what type of pressure does that put on society? That is the question, right? I think we're looking at it personally and like, oh, my job. No. It's not just your job. That's, how many different industries are we talking about? Right? Are we talking about 20 different industries? What does that number look like? Is that 20 million? Is that 20 million people back in the job pool looking for something to do while America tells us everything is fine because they don't want to break the news yet? How is that going to affect your neighborhood is the real question. How does that affect the economy is the real fucking question, right? So all of these things are what these people are working on and have been working on at these think tanks. This is how we have to start to look at things, but we're all looking at it individually, right? How does this affect me? Yo. And I implore you to think about it with a broader spectrum, because then you will see exactly how it affects you. Truck driving ain't safe. Nothing is going to be safe. Only reason I'm safe right now is because they haven't built the hardware yet, the infrastructure to automate this. They're going to start out with automated trucks that's operated by a human. They will. We're still a few years away from that. But to think that then they won't eventually just progress into fully automated trucks, but they have to test the system and make sure that it's working correctly. People will die, right? Just like when they did the Tesla, and the guy went to sleep and crashed right somewhere, but he died, right? This is they charge it to the game. They know some people will die, but they just say this is part of evolution. Carlos says the future will not need people to work, and most people will rely on the state of social payment. And there it is. At the end of the day, Sam Altman has already been working on a project which the government knows about. It's called the Universal Basic Income. He's also working on a unique identifier to be able to pay people. So everything is working in conjunction, in tandem, hand to hand. So I don't know. You guys could argue about who was fucking touching on who in the Epstein files day and night, but I would suggest that you stop being so easily distracted by things, because they have to do this for 4 more years, distract you. And they're going to, I mean, the distractions never stopped, right? Fucking Will Smith got up on stage, smacked Chris Rock, bam, keep my name's white, my wife's name out your mouth. I mean, everybody was just an active, a actor for mass distraction. That's all this is mass distraction. What it says, I want to earn what I have and have what I earn. I don't want it decided and given to me by somebody else based on their decisions. Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from that universal basic income as best as possible. And again, I'm older, so I don't think I'm going to see the height of that type of civilization anyway. I'll probably be out of here before entire populations to have to rely on universal basic income. But still, with universal basic income, it sounds like it's free. I don't think it will still be free. There will still be things that might be required of you monthly to do. And if you don't do it, you may not get your monthly stipend. And then that's limited, right? What about your social score? Will you be allowed to open up a business based on not your credit score, your social score? How have you been before? Have you been obeying the ordinances, the laws? How many points were deducted because you raised your voice at a Denny's? Right? And they took that as racism. No, I never called. No. Did we have witnesses? There was witnesses saying that you raised your voice, that some black lady. We will not tolerate this type of racism. What? I never said anything. Our decision is final. You deducted 5 points. God. Anyway, I think um this is Carlito. Yeah, that's Carlitos. Anyway, thank you for Carlitos and Frank for coming over, and everybody else. Thank you to all of my new subscribers. And I gotta head out now. Head to work. My time is up. All right. Anyway, I got some new videos coming when I get back home. Thank you for being part of these intelligent conversations. I like these conversations. To me, they don't have to get a lot of views. I like conversating with other intelligent people. It's like the internet has not become a place for intelligent conversation. Just race baiting, gaslighting, crazy stuff, right? But I like being able to talk things through with other human beings, rationalize, right? Look what Carlito say. And if this is true, Carlito said the Chinese do this already. That's true. Drop gum on the floor, get your credit score reduced. So, like I was saying, Carlito, if for us to think that we are not just trailing behind, everyone is going to adapt and evolve. Evolve and adapt. Evolve and adapt. Everyone is going to do this. So we can judge China, we can judge Australia, we could judge Canada, but we're all going to end up in the same place doing this same thing. And the thing about China is they have the surveillance. So it's not somebody ratting you out. So if you wanted to be an a-hole and just spit your gum on the street, okay, buddy, you're going to receive a notice in your email, in your Meta glasses, on your smartwatch. They'll let you know you are now deducted 5 points. What does that affect? Well, you might not be able to get out your city if you don't have enough points, bro. You might have to work yourself back up. So forget about security clearance. You are so far from security clearance right now. Huh? You don't have enough points for security clearance. I can tell you right now. Right? So that may affect where you work. If you are, you might get the stipend. The stipend may be only $1,000. The stipend might be only enough for small rations of food and quarters, right? But what if you wanted more? You understand? That they didn't say they was going to stop making ski clothes. They didn't say they was going to stop having boat rides and day parties. You still might want to get out here and do a little something. Jazz festivals, you still might, but are you allowed to? Where is the jazz festival at? Well, right now, based on your last report, you don't have enough points to fly, right? So, but don't be alarmed. Just work on your social score, right? I see you use a lot of profanity. You want to keep the profanity down. You want to keep your loitering down. And your lewdness score is up. I don't know what you've been doing. No, it's some misunderstanding. People saying I stand too close to them on the train. Yeah, well, you want to stop all of that. Whatever you doing on the train, stop that. Because that has you way down. You barely making it off your block. Thank you, everybody. Until the next time, appreciate you guys. Winter, thanks for coming. I don't know where Uncle Andy's at, but he did reach out. Uncle Andy found us. So we know Uncle Andy is alive, right? So he's found us. He's here somewhere. He's been taking care of his uncle, so maybe he's busy, but he did stop by in the comment section yesterday to let us know, like, he's good, right? So Uncle Andy's alive. Right? So, thank you. Roby's here. Original Man is here. B Dolo is here. Frankie Blanco's running around somewhere. The Truth Lady is out here kicking up dust as she does. Shout out to the Truth Lady. She's always working out here on the revolution. Shout out to her. Right? So I'm gonna see all you guys soon. Peace out. Peace, B Dolo.